horror, a genre of multiple different interests, a genre that entails the deep level of psychotic, emotional, deeply spiritual and unimaginable physical agony sometimes a character or people can go through. It's tragic, it's deeply saddening, it's emotionally disturbing in every record of the way. The genre and every cultivation of what it is has demonstrated a deep-seated means of excellence and really pulling you, the player, the audience, and any level of reader into the deep riches of the most intricate philosophy that dares to ask, what makes the human human and what makes the monster? What is the will? What is the resolve? What is the call to fight? And what is the call to go to the most darkest pits of life? In today's battle, I question, could a man that truly became from being a boy wronged by society, who pushed against the horrors, against the pillages of innocence, against the scum, against the swine, and rose up to be a trump card of humanity, could he defy the beast that has preyed on humanity in the town of Derry and all different corners of the cosmos as an absolute blight of fear, a blight of death and carnage? I question today's title as you see why Pennywise versus Joker is a complete landslide, and why not only there is a great deal of things to be untangled about why the famed infamous It, aka Pennywise, the Deadlight, arguably greatest creation of Stephen King, is truly something to be feared and potential. But as well, as I already, by the time of posting this video, have already released a video talking in depthly about the power scale of the Joker, and as well give a greater much of credit for his capabilities and all around means of power scaling and surmise within this video. But to be fair, if you are new here and haven't peeked that video is not only a deeper delve into the cosmology of Persona by the means of not only talking about Joker and his power scaling and his connections to it, but in grandstand a little bit more about Joker. I talked about Joker in greater depth when it comes down to a video. In my case, a shameless plug, Ren, the ultimate trump card of humanity. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. But with all that being said, I hope you guys will enjoy. If you're new here, please leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I make a video. And like I said, I hope you guys will enjoy. Let's go and get it on. It's the famed greatest creature of this man Stephen King, a mind that has made multiple books and has a very unique and diverse cosmology. This cosmology hinders on multiple, built different form of outer gods of horror, and pretty much is all illustration of pretty much making a way more diverse, creative, grandiose specialty of phenomenon within the idea of really trying to uphold the principle of building an entire world that is a mix of Lovecraftian horror, every level of sci-fi and craziness. And know that within the cosmology that's related to the Dark Tower and infamous different icons of that and the entire cosmology detailed on screen, that it single-handedly, because of scaling to fame Morin, the great overseeing turtle, and scaling over multiple other feats and echelon and other things that are shown on screen, would make him be ultimately demonstrably one of the most highest potent individuals for crackness and most importantly fear. He is one of the top pillars of the verse and is an absolute undeniable pillar of power within it. It is a very underrated and underlooked character when it comes on the power scale, and we've entirely taken in the novel and everything that makes it what he is, and his true form as being a deadlight, as being a conceptual embodiment of fear. He has ridiculous uniqueness of immortality, cannot die unless in a grand conceptual level when you neg his greater facilitation of existence, and all his reconnaissance of capabilities and everything that he scales to, he'd easily scale at a low end means of being bare minimum a low complex multiversal, good low hyperversal, to easily outerversal to high by again scaling to Murren, all other instances of stuff, and his displays across the board that fully do rep the idea of it truly being a being of the most highest stand of horror, as no other person can compare to his level of wackiness. We will be here forever going over his hacks, but know that he's existed since like the dawn of humanity and beyond. He's immortal, like I said, but in the means of age. He has multiple ways to fear hacks people. He can utilize the fears entangled within a person's being against them, but also use multiple crazed, wild means of fear. His most potent means of not only drive with fear is hallucinations, causing delusions, telepathicness, ridiculous, wild varieties of mind hacks. He's able to contribute to multiple case of flaws. He's able to do multiple things that involve soul hacks, involve ways of distorting reality warping on a multiple form cosmic level. He's able to summon multiple instances of things. He's obviously a shapeshifter. He can shapeshift into literally anything to embody fear. He is not only very ingenious when it comes down to his horror, and his main all-around means of weakness is his hubris, the idea of not being afraid of him, and the fact that at the end of the day Pennywise can be thwarted by the hope embodiment, order, and grandstand beacon of life that is Moral Turtle. And from where he comes from and how much he overlays, he can do all different type of crazy things. I mean, if I had to describe him in a better way, really this man Pennywise is pretty much every reckoning of being the actual Sun Wukong of horror. I mean, everything that he could be is displayed on screen. If you peep the movies, you actually read the book, you know about him, you've seen all different type of concepts, you know that he's indeed just a demon of the most ridiculous regard, and that generally nobody, I repeat, generally nobody could ever dare comprehend him in his full form. And this is tied to the deadlights that literally personify fear. If you have any able, means of being afraid of him, or you have human cognition and perception, and you have any means of being bound by a different mortal stand, or subsequently being a being on a more mortal plane of dimension, even if you have a mixed claim of willpower, whatever credit to be immortal, or you were aimed by the turtle, which is the reason why some characters, be it the children, aka the Losers Club, is able to survive the showcases of the deadlights. He's able to see this way beyond. He also has entire time subsequent precognition. He sees the future, the present, and the past all at the same time. He's a living embodiment of insanity. He cannot be thwarted, and Pennywise is beyond compare just an absolute demon, like I said. And he would easily, because of scaling to outer versal, and it's a being that existed before time was even a thing, is beyond multiple figments of time and space. His true form exceeds multiple realities and dimensions. He easily would be a guy way beyond infinite and accessible and measurable. You could quantify him for a relevant speed, as he doesn't have any ties to the general concepts of, even that plane of existence, and he entirely exceeds the even phenomenon of a speed tier system, and in true form is literally a godfather of horror, and is the most powerful character of horror that I have personally even seen. So with that being said, besides him, time to go talk about the famed Ren himself, leader of the Phantom Thieves.
Joker, famed Phantom Thief, top of the line, not only means of rack of all trades. The MVP, a character I've already talked about in a great deep dive, not only means of talking, not just his power scaling, a little touch of character, even though as well, shameless plug, I have a greater deep dive delve character of his character, path, arcs, every sense of manner for what he is, as well within the video in question, greater detail in the means about how and all around core he scales to the greater means of greater cosmology within the case of Persona not only 5 but every other game. This is going to be a brief sum up, pretty much just synopsis of his power. There's so much to go and break down with Joker that would be here all day, like with this man, Pennywise. But to be fair, unlike Pennywise, I don't have an entire video subsequently greater detailing and really, spieling all the case of the greater foundation of him. So again, if you would love to go and actually see that video or see a video detailing that, go to that. But suffice to say, Joker, aka Ren again the leader of the Phantom Thieves, was a boy that saw someone helpless, decided to go and stand up, and this would later on lead him to the noble, unavailing path of his true mask, the being of a trickster that would slay a foul false god, and in every way stand up for humanity when it has no one else to depend on. In every way, truly again, a pillar of will, a pillar of undeniable soul tenacity, truly goated. His power in every scope would be at bare minimum means of a low to greater complex multiversal, from inadvertently scaling to different form of people that overlook palaces, has to different chain corresponding means of scaling and all around attachment to the means of mementos, as mementos is a multi upon infinite dimensional tie of all different means of not just perceptions, cognition, that lie in this state of being the unbeknownst, uncollective consciousness that inadvertently would go about a greater scaling to Yaldabaoth, and because as well failing the Thor counterpart persona, scaling inadvertently because of different means of usage if you wanted to, for the creation mechanics, be it argument for non-canon or not, in the talk of different personas and people, that because of having different things pulled from mythology, different usages, and different instances of possible usage across the board against people in wild form, and as well the fact that he, like a bunch of other people within his group of the Phantom Thieves, inadvertently scaling over a couple of the other record of people within palaces, and as well his iconic just being the, again, ultimate trump card failure of different odds, would scale to the higher riches of multiversal to greatly multi-times hyperversal, aka infinite dimensional, and the full slam with the case of his power of Centennial that exceeds the bar for the case of Arson and Ryu and all that, especially with just the immense power that he holds, his failing of someone like Mariki, and being the grandstand all around, in dual means of powerhouse to be used in the ultimate, again, failing of these people, would showcase not just a great sense of grit, but in all his tale of actually being a powerhouse, ridiculously inept, with the way to not only stand against the odds of unprecedented impossibility of power, hail, capabilities, and the man simply off the baseness of a great collective of, yes, humanity's but the fact that it's all being built up through him simply evolving past whatever possible odds and growing the power to again slay Yaldabaoth or defeat Mariki or whatever it may come, makes Joker easily again be a great sense of hyperversal to the at low end and that low to reasonably mid, just a good sense on that in the talk of hyperversal. Artiversal could come if you really think that in all collection to the case of Mementos, that like the two other people that tied to his all around grander wide scaling would make him inadvertently hail to a higher standing of being like multi-crossroads of beyond all diameters of dimensions, and if he more or less scales to mix the personification of multiple dimensions, because again Yaldabaoth and Mariki both encapsulate the greater wide configure of the pretty much cosmology and all around grander like echoes of power within all personas and manifestations and shit like that on a godly world scale that would make him be outerversal, aka boundless in comparison. With speed, he easily would be inaccessible to immeasurable, as no time exists in a greater expense and a greater, all around existence within the means of persona. An entire idea of, in the palaces and other riches of that stuff, time and space is entirely sometimes void and or of no relevance, so he could easily concretely scale to those things, and in the end, Joker, along with everyone else in the grand stand of what his actual means of power is, involving the idea of willpower and how through different types of his confidants and all their skills that he's took in and all the different example personas that show on screen, he has unlimited means of hacks, capabilities, very skilled, acrobatic, does not get tired easily, and again, it shows out in every sense that this man Joker really is top dog and all the other specialties to match. And everything that I've listed, everything that I've displayed, everything shown on the screen does very much highlight his ridiculous means of ineptitude and being truly in every sense of the way the savior humanity would not expect, but every much is needed. With that being said, time to go and actually talk about the true conclusion of this bout. When it comes to the battle, Pennywise entirely wipes the floor with Joker, as I say in the title, and suffice says and obvious, is because on every dimensional stand, and every conceptionary board, and every instance of what he is entirely demonstrably beyond him, cosmology-wise, sense of existence, conceptual existence, perception, every runes of cognition, and every record of the way in his pure different arsenal of different usage of fear, possible usage of Joker's fears, be it to his family, that inadvertently is his friends, his tragedy he's been through, and any other calling of that, even if it shouldn't be a fuel to ultimately beat him, could one-up him in any different atmosphere, and simply on every style of, not again just cosmology, but in just being, is perplexingly beyond anything that Joker and his entire gang, or anyone from what I know of Persona,
has ever even thought. He's just an entire pillar of not only cosmic reality warping, any sentiment of fear, and all around as a being stands as absolute plague of all different reigns of beings and perception of things along those lines. And because of what he inadvertently scales over, who he rivals, and everything that he is some primordial outer god of fear, and would dwarf him in every stand. Especially because even if you want to say at bare minimum the Joker could get to outerversal, even though he's a lot more congruent to say is a hyperversal individual, he can never through willpower boast to the same higher standing of outerversal, aka ridiculous claim of actual boundless perception and existence, and especially with the fact that he is more confident to say is an inaccessible to immeasurable different proclaim of individual when it comes down to speed. And it's not like this man Pennywise, who has no fathom of time, space, and any other connections of that, and would easily be able to possibly scale like multiple other higher end standings of outerversal individuals to the qualifications of being not bound by any consideration of time, space, any other facets of that, and can entirely plume into a whole different diameter of uneven quantifiable, uneven concisely to even be possibly explained in different grandstand, actually defying speed, and through irrelevant speed could be on a whole different parameter of just pure existence that can entirely divulge any form of what this man Joker has to go and throw at him in ways that he could even comprehend and stand to. Joker would get absolutely devoured by him. And the only way you could see him winning is, again, if you went the fuck out of him with his willpower. Maybe if this possibly went into a narrative, because even though me and my friend will entirely most likely disagree on every counting for how possibly Joker would have a reason to fight Pennywise, is that Pennywise would be one of these different things that would plague society, that would reasonably have this man Joker, the rest of the Phantom Thieves investigate, and the entire time they're in Shibuya, the great deal of Japan, and actually try to uncover why kids are missing, how an entire detriment has been put onto the case of, the city, and how this could possibly be a different form of how Joker, as the ultimate trump card of humanity, would need to, in a hypothetical narrative, need to exceed his limits in ways unfathomable against fear, and fail this entire, again, blight on the universe, right? It still, again, would not take away the fact that at the end of the day, and every core concept, that this man Pennywise extends to a whole different bounds that he could not do, as he is more functionally boundless, and that, again, unless you went all in different collateral compoundment of power with Joker's friends and all that, they could never extend to those same bars, and them all together bare minimum, because I would say Joker is the more confident higher grandstand of hyperversal. Everyone else is like bare minimum different, like mixed tie cuss of that, because Joker is the MVP. He is the ultimate trump card for a reason. He needs a lot more actual reason to really boost and excel to these different heights, and if it wasn't for a tie company with his friends, a greater sense of kind of like spirit bomb energy configuring within his entire means of veins that really gave him a new unmanageable and wavering resolve, he could not more confidently fail his opposition the same. But even with that perspection, that would be a heavy wank, and that, again, in comparison, this man Pennywise exceeds him on every different peripheral of not just speed and all around claim of perception. And as well, we're not even mentioning the fucking, dead lights, all his different confines of being a being of so much of a outer god stand of a claim of horror, where he could literally pull a level of like Galactus Sentinel level perception, where as soon as he wants to could blight him. And because Joker, even though does have a claim of immortality, he cannot be conceptually erased, his willpower, his grit is definitely undisputed. He, because still having mortal perception, can entirely be emboldened by fear, and unless you think his willpower could push him out of it, even though he's never faced anything like this, and he can still be failed in this archetype, he can still pull a bunch of other ways to entirely destroy his capability to see, move, and pull anything of any other sort. He would get eradicated off the senses from any of that. So suffice to say, is this man Pennywise winning with an easy low diff, and even if you equal the stats and call for this man Joker to maybe give him a fight, which I still think would be interesting, and it could definitely be an interesting versus battle, for Death Battle or someone else to go and cover in depth form. I still see Pennywise beating him most times routinely on a good, easy mid to bare minimum high diff, just because Joker, again, does have that unyielding dog. but in no way could Pennywise, aka P. Weezy, be put down. He's way too versatile, he's way too hacked out, and in every confines of his existing, he just entirely dwarfs him in every facet that you could think. Joker's existence is literally minutia in actual form. He's literally entirely seen as a toddler to this unfathomably built different form of entity that entirely encapsulates fear. I mean, he is in every truth just a plague that has no way to be cured in all account, especially from a mortal greater height form. And unless you are empowered with something of greater form, and we say in a hypothetical narrative that he was helped by Murrin, I still think there's a great argument that Joker's pure velocity of actual case of capabilities and or range of things would not in any way help him in the long run, because again, Pennywise, without sounding like a broken record, is just this uberly built different powerful. He's just in a whole different scope of existence. So he's actually an eldritch being without just being a like pillar of society. So he would need to go to new rich like tales of wackiness. And the fact is that again, Stephen King's universe is way more bigger. So that's all I have to say. I hope you guys have enjoyed either way, though. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below and who you think will win, what you have to say. If you disagree with anything I said from this video, I know where to hit me, RPKing324 at Discord. I hope you guys have enjoyed nonetheless, though. I love y'all. I appreciate you for watching. Peace out, Marmy. Love y'all.